Hey friends, welcome back. It's our time together once more. It's that time of the week. So, it's a gray, overcast morning. We have June gloom now, which is great. It's nice. I appreciate the June gloom, and I love it. I do. I'm very much a fan of June gloom because I don't find it gloomy. I find it very relaxing, very soothing. The gray diffused light is very good for waking up in the morning and having my cup of coffee and, just jamming out to some soft jazz. Of course, the classics. I don't go in for that Kenny G shit, okay? Sorry for anyone who likes Kenny G. I have nothing personally against him. His brand is definitely made him a lot of money. But I know he's a true musician, and I've heard good things about his actual jazz chops. So I have no judgment on himself, but his waiting room elevator brand of jazz is definitely not my cup. But I'm sure he is a very comparable musician. Of course, I'm of the old school. We all know this. Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins, Charlie Parker, Don Bias, those guys. Those are my guys. No doubt, no question about it. But anyways, Ben Webster too, of course, and the list goes on. I love all those classic musicians of the 30s, 40s, 50s. However, we're here to talk about lanterns and not musicians. The gray mornings are nice, and it keeps it cooler longer. And I'm not a big fan of heat. And lately, it's been, when it does get hot, it gets humid here. What was it? I want to say it was Saturday or Sunday. It was 50% humidity, which is very high for Southern California. For LA County, that's high. We're usually operating around 15 to 20% humidity on any given day. And that's really low. It's extremely low. But when you get up to 50% humidity with a heat index of 95, it's sticky. It's uncomfortable. And you really don't want to be outside too much. Now, I know a lot of you guys on the East Coast and the Midwest are definitely enduring a lot more than that. However, for this man, I've endured that before. I've endured 80 and higher before. But that's why I live here in this drier climate, and it's more of my speed. Anyway, we are burning a Dietz Monarch. This is a first generation. This is the step fount, soldered bottom, okay, flat top fount, small fuel cap, no reinforcements in the air tubes, and this thing is just as rugged and as found as they come. Now, the globe is definitely not an original. It's a flash globe, meaning the colors applied to the inside of the glass, or sometimes it were applied to the exterior of the glass. Why that was done, it was probably very cheap, to do it. But anyways, most flash globes I've seen had the color applied to the inside, because if it's applied to the outside, it's going to be more prone to chipping and flaking. Yeah. Anyway, it's a great piece. It's a nice old Monarch. This is first generation. So the first patent would be, I believe, June of 99. So that would be the last patent date pertaining to an element of the lantern. I can't recall which element was the patent for 99, but these were definitely introduced in 1900. They show up in the Deets catalogs around 1900. Now, there's many new collectors to the hobby, and that's great. We need new collectors. We need more people interested into tubular lanterns, because as people come and go, the hobby will change, and there will be lanterns available for purchase as some of the senior collectors retire and sadly pass on. It's just a phase of life. It's what it is. But there's definitely room for more collectors and people who appreciate these things. And I appreciate this thing. It's a fun old lantern. I've done nothing to it. As you can see, it's relatively dirty, but I like it because it has that, garage as found look aesthetic about it, and it burns just fine, and it looks cool, and I like them in that kind of, frozen suspended animation type of deal. So there's no rust on it. It's just dark aged tin with dust and some grime on it from years of service. And it was never cleaned by anybody that owned it, and that's why it looks the way it does. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, we're going to be talking about some interesting little things today. Stuff that I've mentioned before, or made reference to before, but I haven't really done any parallels, I guess you could say, at least not in a while. So this one's going out to the new subscribers and the newer collectors who are wanting to learn something about the earlier tubular lanterns, just in similarities. Okay, so I have 3 examples of lanterns that date to roughly about the same time, and I'm going to share them and talk about them a little bit. So we'll start with Deets. Okay, now in 1894, give or take, Dietz introduced the Victor. Now the Victor is this guy. This is probably my finest example of a Dietz Victor. You've all seen it. I've had it for quite a while, and it's a great lantern. It really is. It's a beautiful... Actually, is this my Victor? Ha! Excuse me. I made a mistake. This is my side lift. Okay? This is the side lift. But it's the same thing, essentially. It is. Dates to the same period. It's a Dietz side lift. It's a great piece. Okay. So this became the test pattern for almost all Dietz lanterns on to 1899. This is pretty much the basic frame that you would see between 1892, 93, all the way to the end of the decade. Now, this is a side lift, so this came out roughly around 1891 or 2. And that's because it's technically just the same as a square lift, but it has a side lift. So that when this little crank was added, it made it a lot easier to lift and light. It was an added piece, so this cost more. This little thing with that hinge and this little slot on the globe plate, that cost more. So this was a premium lantern. This was expensive for its time. The square lift just had a little loop hook, little flat piece of sheet metal on the top. They just pull up and it stays that way. And that's fine. That works too. It's not bad or good. It's just the way it works. Now, it was cheaper to make, so that's why they're a little more affordable. It was the predecessor, I should say, to the high-low that came out in the early 1900s. But this guy, this side lift became the Victor, which became more or less their standard number O tubular. So, side lift comes out, then comes the Victor. Did other companies mimic Dietz and having a standard number O side lift lantern or Victor style lantern? You bet your boots they did. So what was CT Ham doing at the same time? What were they making? What did they offer? Did they offer something comparable to this? You bet they did. And that would be the Clipper lift. This is a CT Ham number O Clipper. And this has the outside lift, okay? And it works just like that. Is it different? Yeah, it has a globe retaining clip here that the upper lip clips into. You know, you lift this up and then it clips it in. It's a very secure way of holding the globe in, and I actually kind of like it. It's pretty cool. Now, this lantern, this generation of CT Ham will not accommodate a fits-all globe or any other globe besides a number O style with a thick upper lip here. So you have to have a number O style globe, which this is. It's unmarked. It's just an earlier replacement. But the original ones would say Ham or Ham number O tubular. But this one's from the mid or late 1890s. They made them clear from 1895, 6, right around there, clear into about 1899 or so before when they went to the round stamped air tubes instead of the D tube construction. Now, this would be essentially CT Ham's answer to the side lift. You see how similar they are? Very similar. They have kind of the same profile, so if at a distance or a silhouette, you would almost think they're the same lanterns. They're very similar in style and size. I think the Ham is a little taller just because of the taller draft tube here. But does the same thing, burns the same brightness. It is. They're both number O, number 1 size burners with that take a 5 1/8 wick. Yeah, 5/8 wick, 5/8 of an inch. That's the width of the wick for a standard number O tubular lantern. So, Deets has the side lift. CT Ham says, well, that's a cool idea. Let's do that, but let's make it a little different so we don't get in trouble with Deets because they get grumpy about that stuff. So let's make an air tube that's not round. We like that profile. Okay. Now, Charles Trafton Ham was originally president of SG&L earlier on. And so he felt that he had a right to try and emulate and do things as Deets did, because eventually Deets had holdings with SG&L and they were kind of, partner company. They were partner companies. But that's why SG&L lanterns look almost exactly like Deets lanterns. But Ham had to make some alterations to their style a little bit, because some of the first generation Ham lanterns do look like early SG&L lanterns from the 1880s. But as he started his own company in 1887, and he kind of went on with that and eventually refined his designs and made something that was a little more specific to avoid patent infringements. But the D tube has kind of the same appearance as a square tube, but it's got the arched inner portion here. So you see it's curved on the inside. So if you had a cross section, it would look like a letter D. The period term for this type of air tube is oval. CT Ham called these oval air tubes. But yeah, in all intents and purposes, they are a D cross section. Does a great job. Burns really nice. That's right. Okay. For the third manufacturer who had essentially the same idea, and they were in trouble a lot. As well as others, because they liked what they saw in Deets, and Deets was definitely selling a lot of lanterns, and people really liked the design. They really sought after that simple, basic design. The square tubes look rigid and strength, project strength and rigidity and all that, and it's just a classic look. They are. A lot of collectors like the square tubes. But anyway, Buell out of Detroit wanted to do something similar. And they were making lanterns a little earlier on, in the 1880s, I think they started. I can't remember the exact year that they started stamping lanterns. They also made milk cans. But Buell came out with their number O. And here it is. This is a Buell number O tubular, circa mid-1890s, give or take. Now, this one has a little match safe, which was an option. For 50 cents extra to every dozen lanterns you ordered, they would add this little tube with a match strip and a little cap that was soldered to the globe plate, so it would lift when you lifted the globe, so you could expose your matches, grab a match, lock it in place. Okay, so it locks in place, grab a match, strike it, light it, and then return the globe to its closed position, and you got it. You're done. You're burning. Great invention. Great little added little gimmick here. Makes it so easy to just keep the matches with the lantern, so you don't have to find that box of matches if you need to light something. So this was a great little added bonus that you could add for 50 cents extra to every dozen of lanterns ordered. Not all of these come with this. You'll find others that are same lantern, but it's missing this because they weren't ordered with it. That's correct. So, did Buell catch any flack or any attention from Deets? Haha, yeah, they did. This is exactly pretty much the same frame as a Deets Victor. Same gauge of tubes, same profile. And, it's funny, early on, Buell had some details that CT Ham had as well. Now, the globe guards are different. There's kind of a flattened out V or Y-shaped guards, but that doesn't really matter. And their guide wires come down and hook to the guards here. And then they have this nifty little guide wire here soldered to the tube that only goes up so high to, you know, stop the globe from going up further and all that. Oop. Let's see here. That's a little loose. Anyway, so it has its own little track. It has its own little track there, okay? And then the linkage here is kind of crazy. It's kind of complicated a little bit. It's over-engineered, I'll say. Over-engineered, but it works. It's a fun little piece. But Buell did go to court several times because of Dietz saying, you know, sending them cease and desist letters and lawsuits and stuff. Eventually, ultimately, they did. They stopped and they paid him out, and that was it. So the Dietz number O tubular, or Victor, or side lift as it was named, did inspire many companies to produce a lantern that was similar. Everybody came out with a number O tubular. And, of course, SG&L did as well. They had their own Victor. They had their own side lift. They had their own square tube lanterns that had the same profile, same details, essentially. And there was a few variants between the similar models, but not too many. I used to have some SG&L stuff. I mean, I have one. My 1B Royal is, I think, the only SG&L lantern I still have. I've bought some and I've sold some, and that's okay. But it's good stuff. It's really neat. It's interesting to have some of these examples and see the differences between the manufacturers. And a lot of the differences existed primarily to avoid getting in trouble with the company that created the first patents for these. So square tubes, definitely a 90s thing. They didn't really exist in the tail end of the 80s. They were patented, I would say, by 87, 88. But they weren't really manufactured until about 1890. 1890 is really the square tube generation for most hot blast lanterns, and that really was the standard at the time because most companies weren't tinkering with cold blast design except for CT Ham. They were one of the earliest lantern companies to introduce the cold blast lantern, and then it wasn't until 98 through 1900 that others started to come around to the cold blast design as we know it today. But fun stuff. So you see a lot of the similarities with these three, and you know, every little lantern is different to a degree, and it's just fun. It's fun to look at the differences and see what they were doing, what companies were doing, and how to be competitive and how to you know, manufacture these things so they all kind of look the same, did the same thing, but some had advantages, subtle advantages than others. So it's all about the history and the appreciation of the history and enjoying, you know, just the subtle little differences. And I guess that's a hang up that us collectors have, is because we're like, oh, this has this different, and this is a little different, and this is a little different. Oh, we got to keep these. Well, yeah, that's fun. That's part of collecting. But then, well, of course, each model has a different patent run, and then some people go for entire patent runs of one particular model, and that's fun. That's great. Sadly, can't be me. I don't have the capital to make those investments and find each patent run. Some people that are doing that or have been doing that since 40 years, 35 years, maybe more. Long time. And a lot of this stuff was a little more accessible and a little more available earlier on. Now it's getting rarer to find stuff in the wild. It still happens, but mostly a lot of the people that buy and sell lanterns are buying full collections from families that had a collector in the family who had either passed on or they're just liquidating everything for other reasons. But stuff still surfaces, so keep your eyes peeled. I actually just recently sold this guy to a new member of the Tubular Lantern group. So this CT Ham number O clipper is going to go away. So yeah, it's been fun. I had it only for a little bit. I bought this during Christmas, and I love it. But you know, it's what it is, and it's going And I'll be offering another lantern or two on the Tubular Lantern group. So keep your eyes peeled this weekend. I'll be putting up some more lanterns for you to consider for purchase, for you new collectors to have a chance to own something that is unique and special and rather old. So, yeah, and I feel my prices are fair for what I offer. So, yeah, good stuff, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little video this week. Things are going okay. Things are all right. We're adjusting, and we're going to just keep on going on. And next week I will share the jobber that the parts came from for the CT Ham made Liberty Cold Blast I've shared in the last couple of videos. So I'll share the frame that donated the Liberty Globe and the spring bail gripped bail handle that are on that lantern now. And I'll show that in the next video. Well, friends, take it easy. Thanks again for tuning in and joining me once more out here this week in the old time cave. And we'll be coming at you next week with another video. We'll keep on going. All right. Take care and burn something nice and enjoy your time with your stuff. All right. Bye-bye. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog.